And now, Brandon Thiccc Schaub.
Suga Sean, what's going on, brother? The talk of the town. Even though you didn't fight, you are across all facets of media right now in the fight game, you are the face of the bantamweight division, my man.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've been the face of the division for a while now, but especially right now, sucks for Aljo, kind of, hey, give the guys credit, just be Henry Cejudo, but, we're kind of outshining him with the Sugar Show gets the title shot next.
Yeah, the Sugar Show is here. I mean, it arrived way before this, but after the Peter Yan win to solidify you as the number one contender, kind of did it. Yeah, isn't it interesting? Because, and I don't get it with Aljo. I enjoy Aljo. I love Aljo. He's a good fighter. Really, the hate, he just never gets the respect. It just the perfect storm for him. I don't think, he didn't go into the Peter Yan fights with a huge kind of following in the Peter Yan the way he got the belt, right? So it's like just people kind of disrespect the dude. And then even with, what he did to Corey Sandhagen's ridiculous. TJ Dillashaw, they're like, but he was injured, so he doesn't get the credit there. And then with Henry Cejudo, they're like, it's an older Cejudo. He took 3 years off. I'm like, damn. Well, maybe the Sugar fight is what he needs to get respect. Even if you were to lose, you're a monster. You would think that would give him the respect. I don't know what. There's certain guys, there's just, with the UFC trying to figure out the marketing, there's not much you can do, man. Either you got it or you don't.
Yeah, I don't, and it's weird because it's not like people. I think he went through a phase where people definitely didn't like him. He was hated a little bit, but he's never been super loved. And I would say it doesn't seem like he's hated necessarily anymore. He went through that clown phase where people are clown, where I think that kind of stopped. So it's not really like he's almost, you almost got to dive into that heel more and just be that guy that people want to hate rather than try to be the guy that people want to like. They either like you or they don't. It doesn't really matter what you do, what podcast you go on, what you say.
Agreed.
They like you or they don't. So yeah, he's kind of in that middle ground to where he's like not hated, not loved. It's weird. I wouldn't want to be in that position. I want to be hated or loved. I'd rather be loved. I mean, but if I'm hated, I'll fucking run with that too.
Yeah, you want them to have opinion one way or the other. You don't want to be neutral.
Yeah.
It's if you look at the Floyd Mayweather kind of blueprint, people hated him and they tuned into his fights. Some of the the top 4 pay-per-views of all time, they tuned into his fights to see him lose. He doesn't care.
Yep.
Money's money. Whether you pay it, you love him, you pay it, you hate him. All he cares about is the money. I mean, Cejudo kind of did it. Cejudo ran with it a little bit. He was, the cringy thing. He just leaned into it. So then some people,
that wasn't it.
That wasn't it. That ain't it.
Not it. That wasn't it. Him and his coach, captain, like that's just not it. And I mean, I think you can see, yeah. I mean, that wasn't it. I don't think he tried. You got to give him credit. He tried, and he's still trying, and it's still not working. But who knows? Maybe you just try for 10, 15 years of not working, and who knows, maybe it'll randomly come along. But I don't.
10, 15 years to look at your face. Yeah, I think now you were a guy that came out. I saw you scored it for Cejudo. Did you rewatch it? Were you high? Because my producer, I watched it with Dominic Cruz. You want to watch that 135 title shot with a freaking GOAT. That's Dominic Cruz. We both had it for Sterling pretty easily, 4-1. I could see 3-2.
Wow.
Yeah, I could see 3-2 argument. 3-2, I'll entertain. Outside that, I don't see it. Now, my producer Chin, his bad vision, his glasses were dirty. His glasses were super dirty. But when I heard you say you thought Cejudo won, I didn't put too much into it because I'm like, well, he's saying cage side. It's tough to score fights cage side.
Yeah, it was really hard to see. Like when there's a pole in the middle and you're missing out on very important parts, or did that land, or did that, what happened there? It's hard to judge a fight. I also was maybe leaning towards Henry because I wanted him to win. I wanted that fight more. I feel like I just really, want to slap Henry. So that's a fight in the future that could still happen. But watching it cage side, I did think, and I was honestly a little surprised they gave it to Aljamain. I thought in the wrestling and grappling department, it was very neutral. I didn't really see, at least from my perspective, no one really out-grappled each other too much, and on the feet, it looked like Henry was landing the bigger shot.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't watched it. I really, really do want to watch it. Tim and I are going to watch it very soon to kind of, game plan for Aljo anyway.
Yep.
But I'm very interested in what I'll see and how that'll change because, a lot of people said there are certain people I've talked to that said watched it live, had already rewatched it, and they did switch over to Aljo. So it's crazy, like how fights are just different perspectives. But yeah, I'm gonna rewatch it very soon, and who knows, I might have a different outlook on it.
Here's the thing, dude. You know how you've been in a million fights. You've been, cage side. That's the view of the judges. It's like they should not be cage side. They should be in a separate room where they can see what the viewer's seeing on TV, because that's the best way to critique a fight, analyze a fight. Being cage side or in person is not the way to do it, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. They probably have a little bit better. They put on the poles in the way, but still, I mean, the TV is the best way to watch a fight, the different angles that for sure the judges should be. I mean, what do you think? The judges in a separate room with no audio, or with just like the fight sound on it, not the crowd? It's hard to, I don't know if that's possible, but yeah, I wonder what's the most positive, best way for the judges to watch and judge the fight.
Agree. Before we get into fighting, this just hit me, then we'll get back to Cejudo and Aljo and all that other crap. But dude, your Suns are playing my Nuggets. Your Suns are playing my Nuggets, and my Nuggets are beating that ass. We're about to close it out. I think they play on Friday. We're going to seal the deal. Are you sad about that? Do you want to bet on it? What are you feeling here?
You know what? I don't keep up with basketball enough. I do know I've the only reason I do is because I've been playing Prize Picks, and that's the only reason I kind of keep up with sports is when I'm putting money on it. And yeah, I seen that the Suns. Hey, it's not over. It's not over till it's over. You know what I mean? Just 2023. They could be. I'm champ this year. Suns champ. That could be pretty crazy. I'll be champ regardless this year, so maybe if they need to do, run it next year, we could do it. But hey, it's not over till it's over.
They need to get your ass in there and give them a freaking pep talk. That's what they need to do.
Or a fucking shooting guard, one of the two.
Or a shooting guard. Get in there, man. Chris Paul's hurt. But let's get back to the fight talk, brother. With the fight talk, when you said you were leaning towards Cejudo, you want Cejudo to win. I assume because you think Cejudo's going to sell more pay-per-views, like it's a bigger fight. I feel like Aljo, after winning that, it's the bigger fight now. I also, before you answer, I don't think it matters. I think you're the cash cow here either way. I don't think it really matters on your opponent.
Yeah, I agree at this point. I'm like, well, Aljo just beat Henry, so they're very similar as far as selling the pay-per-views go. But yeah, I thought Henry, I would like to slap Henry more than Aljo. I do think that stylistically, Henry's an easier fight for me. Not that Aljo's an easy fight by any means, but I do think, he's a lot less dangerous. Aljo's one of the greatest bantamweights of all time.
Yep.
With his resume right now and current fighting is just different than back in the day. So I think Aljo is the best bantamweight right now. So me going out there and beating him will be massive, will be huge. But yeah, I thought Henry versus Suga, battle of the Mexican champs would be interesting, but this will be good still.
But also when you look at Henry's skill set, if he fought you the way he fought Aljo with that kind of weird like taekwondo, like straight up stance, man, that'd be a tough night in the office. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when I saw him. Like, boy, if he gets past Aljo, he fights Suga this way. This gonna be a tough night with that straight up chin in the air style and hands like fucking bass rooting like it's 1993. I was like, dude, this can be tough.
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, Connor posted a video that was pretty fun. It was hilarious. It was accurate. It's like, what are you doing standing like that? You're 5'3". Fight like it. Don't fight like you're.
Agree.
I mean, that's not even a way to fight. Even if you're tall, with your chin up like that, hands like that. Don't go out there making breakdowns saying the greatest coach of all time, the greatest fighter of all time, and they go out there with a whack ass stance like that. He's lucky. He's lucky he lost to Aljo, because if he didn't lose to Aljo, he would have lost to me in a way worse fashion. I would have put his lights out.
I agree with that.
But I think Aljo too. He's not. He wasn't looking much sharper on the feet. That motherfucker's chin's up there too, walking forward all weird. Like, he's gonna get sniped.
I think you have a sizable advantage when it comes to striking over both of those guys. Like that's your huge advantage over both these contenders. Even with Merab, I'm not contenders because Sterling's the champ, but with Merab, Henry, Sterling is the champ, you have a pretty huge advantage when it comes to the striking. I mean, all those guys. And then obviously we would give them more of the advantage when it comes to the grappling. That's why I'm excited to see this, because I think even your striking was underrated till you fought Peter Yan. Then people are like, oh, damn. It's like, yeah, dude, that's what most of all the experts are like, yeah, the kid can box. Kid has striking, man.
Yeah.
So I think the Peter Yan kind of proved those haters, wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I dropped Peter. I don't know anyone else that has dropped Peter in the second round. I cracked him with that left hand. I did put him down with that right hand shortly, briefly. And that just goes to show you how good Peter Yan was, because he hit me with a left hand that I still don't know how I ate. That Peter Yan is very, very dangerous. I think he's way more of a dangerous opponent than Henry. I don't know if he's necessarily more dangerous. Aljo's dangerous in different ways than Peter. But I think Peter beats Henry for sure. I think Peter sleeps Henry.
What's weird too is after what you did to Peter, he's never, I think you mentioned this and I co-signed this on my show. Peter hasn't been the same since that last year. He's never, there's just certain fights. There's certain JDS Stipe. JDS was never the same. Neither was Stipe for that matter. But there's certain fights. Gustafsson, John Jones. There's certain fights. Guys are just never the same.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. He did fight Merab, who is very, very dangerous and good in the opposite way of me, where he's just like grapple. He fought a killer in Merab, who's very dangerous. So we'll see who Peter gets next. I think Peter versus Cheeto is an interesting fight. Peter versus Henry is an interesting fight. Yep. Peter versus Rob Font. Like, there's some big fights out there that I'd like to see Peter, come back, and I think he will. But also, it's like people hate losing to me because of the way I look, the way I talk, whatever it is. They do not want to lose to me, especially after going. Peter, I think that was going to be an easy fight. We took him into deep waters and we beat him there. So I think, that's got to play some part in his mind.
Yeah, I think you're one of those guys that falls in that lane where it's like, after you have this huge following, and people are like, oh, well, he's more famous than he is talented. He's really famous. He's big on, all the social media platforms. He's big on, the video game scene, and he has his fan base, but he doesn't have the skill like these other guys. Then you get Peter Yan, they're like, watch this. And then you whoop his ass, like, oh, goddamn. So you're kind of the first guy, because I would say different. Obviously, the looks are completely different. He's across the pond, but Paddy Pimblett, similar vibe. Vibe meaning his, how do I put this? This is no disrespect on Paddy Pimblett. He doesn't have your skill set. He's not there yet. But his fame outshines his talent right now. So people are like, oh, we want to see him against, the number 5 guy. We put him in there against, Gaethje, and you're like, Jesus Christ, dude. So it can be a disservice, and then the fan base kind of revolt against that because you haven't beat those guys to deserve that place on the card, but you're the outlier who's done it when you beat Peter Yan.
Yeah, and that Peter Yan fight, I've watched it so many times. It is such a close fight. I do believe I won round 1 and 3, but I'm not mad at people that say, hey, you lost that fight. It's like, hey, that was a close fight. Peter Yan, I know how gangster that dude is. He is, regardless of his last fight against Murad, that dude is very, very dangerous. It was a very tough fight. So for me to go out there and get the job done, that was massive, especially to the fans, the casuals that did think I was just like, big following. It's like, I got famous because I started knocking people out. I wasn't famous when I came into the UFC.
Correct.
I got famous for knocking people out. I got famous because I have skills. So, there's different there. And I agree with the Paddy situation. It's like, I don't know him personally. I don't know, I don't know his lifestyle. I don't know his routines. But for me, I can say I live this shit. I've lived this shit since I was, 18 and moved to Phoenix. I train and I recover, and that's what I do. I smoke weed. Yeah, I can party with the boys sometimes, but that's a very, very, very small percentage of what I do. I live this lifestyle.
Yeah, I think it's different, but I also think too, for Paddy, it's like, massive following over there in Liverpool, across the pond there. Font those, was it Cage of Fury or whatever the hell it is? Cage Warriors. Massive, champion Cage Warriors, selling out arenas, selling out more tickets than the UFC did over there. So he had this massive following. But I think the UFC did right by you. Dana White Contender Series, you burst on the scene. And then they didn't just throw you to the wolves like Sage Northcutt or something like that. Like, you had a great progression. And if I'm the UFC, that's how it should be done, man. It's the MMA fan base, the UFC fan base, and the matchmakers for a long time would just toss you guys to the fucking Wolverines. And I did it with Sage, with Paddy a little bit. They tossed him a little bit too much too soon in his last fight, which we saw, which most people think he lost that fight. So it just puts pressure on the guy. And a lot of it's from the fans. Like, no, let these guys build up like boxing does. Boxers don't fight anybody to what? Fucking their 30th fight or some shit like that. But you've done it right, man. If I'm Paddy, I'm going, I want the sugar treatment. Like, don't toss me in the top 15. Let me get my experience, get in the octagon. You can put me wherever you want on the card, but don't toss me these fucking monsters. Like, you've done it right, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think I got in the UFC when I was like 22 years old. I was so young. Like, I had only really been fighting like at a good high level since I was 18. You know, so not too long when I got in the UFC. And yeah, the UFC did a really good job. You know, you got to give props to Sean Shelby. Sean Shelby's a brilliant dude. He really is. Sean, yeah. He does a really good job. And yes, you know, people hated it or whatever. We're here now. We're fighting for the title. I just beat a legitimate, you know, a very legitimate guy that you can't deny has very good skills. Former world champion. And yeah, so the UFC did a really good job. But also, yeah, when you're in the UFC, maybe don't get into the UFC until you built that resume outside the UFC or got skilled enough. I lucked out, and hey, I mean, I can't take credit for it. UFC did a good job, you know, building my resume, and yeah, we're here.
Yeah, here you are, man. And when you look at, you probably didn't see it, but when we had Dominic Cruz on the Fight Companion, he's talking about the fight, and you know, he obviously he gives credit to Aljo and he gives credit to Henry Cejudo, but he's saying about Cejudo, he doesn't respect him taking the 3 years off. He goes, this bitch shit, man. He goes, well, me, the rest of contenders like Suga and TJ and all of us are working our ass off, fighting, staying in camp. You know, we're getting tested all the time. He just quit for no reason.
Yeah.
He's like, he had no reason. He's like, he's just bitch shit, man. He's like, I don't respect him taking 3 years off, healing his body, and then deciding to come back. He's like, that's not how this game works. He's like, I just don't respect it.
It's an interesting perspective. I mean, who knows? You know, he went out there, got a second girlfriend, got her pregnant, had a baby, take some personal time. To me, I'm on my own shit. I don't give a fuck about anybody else or what they're doing. If they're taking time off, if they're taking fights, if they're training, I really just don't care. I know I'm training. I know I'm improving and getting better. So I wasn't mad about it. You know, Henry, he was the double champ, Olympic silver medalist. I mean, gold medalist.
One of the greatest all time. Yeah. What'd he say?
Yeah, so
silver medalist.
Silver medalist, yeah.
Oh, no. Henry, you know Henry's gonna hear that and just fucking lose it. I don't care if he took 3 years off. I'm not worried about it.
Yep. And when you look, when you watch that fight, you'll see it. You know what Sterling does do well, and I haven't seen a lot of guys do this. When he's on the ground, he's on all fours. So make sure 3 points of contact on the ground, so you can't throw the illegal knees. And if you do, you're gonna get disqualified. So when it's down there, I don't see that being an issue in your guys' fight. You know, who knows? Maybe you decide to fucking grapple all of a sudden, but he does do a good job of kind of baiting those illegal knees. It's a weird and very successful kind of thing that he does.
Yeah, I think too. I mean, he's the type of guy that doesn't want to go out there and get in a slugfest. Which, hey, I get it. I don't technically really want to. I'd rather me be the one piecing someone up. And he just really doesn't want to get hit. He doesn't have a problem shooting. He knows the rule set, and you can't knee someone when your head's down like that. He knows that. So kind of, you know, he's all right. He wants to grapple. I'm sure we're going to be in that front headlock position. I might throw an illegal knee just for fun, but
why not?
We'll see
See how it goes.
Why not?
What's up, bro?
If I'm getting my ass kicked, fuck it.
Yeah,
no, I'm sure we'll be in that position. I'm expecting, you know, ideally my plan, go out there and not let him grab me. That's, you know, and piece him up from the outside.
Yep.
His goal is going to be grab a hold of me at all costs.
And it's going down, what did Dana mention, August in Boston?
In that position, probably. August 19th in Boston is kind of what we're thinking. That's what I'm planning for. I'm going to slowly start getting into camp. We're 14 weeks out, which is, 14 and a half, damn near 15 weeks out, pretty much 4 months. You know, people are like, oh, that's too quick of a turnaround. No. Not really. You know, he doesn't have any serious injuries. You know, he has plenty of time. Take a couple months off, 2 month training camp, that's plenty. So, yeah, I don't think that's too fast of a turnaround. I think that'll be perfect, especially if he wants to go up to 45. I'll send his ass up to 45. He can go fight back on the prelims.
Yeah, the only thing that would be kind of, when people say, oh, it's too quick of a turnaround, would be the weight cut, you know, because he does cut a lot of weight. That'd be the only kind of hiccup there. But if he just stays, you know, doesn't go too crazy, stays professional, and knows that this is happening in August, he should be all right. Sterling's professional.
Yeah, I mean, hey, 4 months is a lot. It's not that fast. So that's a good amount of time to, you know, don't get fat. Just stay somewhat disciplined. You're the bantamweight champion. the best fighter in the world, to be able to cut weight again that fast shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Agree, brother. And he's talking about after this one going to 145. Well, I think win or loss, he's going to go to 145. Let's say you take care of business, right? You piece this dude up, no illegal knees, like we're talking about. For you at 135, you know, you got Marab, you got some pretty good contenders. Are you looking? Obviously, we're not looking past Sterling, but is that who you kind of thinking next? Marab, especially after the whole jacket thing, stuff like that, kind of create a little bit of hype.
But yeah, after Aljo, I definitely, I plan on sticking around 35 for a while. 45 definitely in the future, but I would like to defend the belt at 35. Like you said, we're not looking past Aljo. I understand how big of a test and how difficult of a fight this could be, but I also know that I can put his lights out the way he marches forward. As far as who would be next, it kind of depends. I want that Cheeto rematch back. I think that's probably. But I know he's coming off a loss, so he'd have to go out there and get a win, which is very he could do that. Corey, people think that's a big fight. It's kind of a big fight. Corey's probably like the worst guy at promoting himself or at getting any interest in fights. So that's still there. Corey, Marab, yeah, definitely. There's already a little story behind that one, especially being Aljo's friend. Who else is up there?
When you go through the list, what'd you say?
Rob Font just had a beautiful performance over Adrian Yanez. That's an interesting fight.
That was amazing.
Yeah. So there's a lot of possibilities. I truly believe me versus any of those guys is a massive fight, just because I feel like people want to see me win. Some people want to see me lose. I do think I have more of the wanting to see me win fans. I'm curious what these odds will be when Aljo comes out, or me versus Aljo. The odds.
I think it's like someone came out with, and we were talking about on Monday's show. I think it was like 2-1. But remember, 2-1 odds. But remember, those guys who make the lines want movement. They want money on it. I bet by the time you guys fight, you might be a slight dog. You know what I'm saying? Barely. But 2-1 this early out, slight dog.
Oops. I think. I feel like I'm going to be more of an underdog, to be honest.
You think?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, me versus Peter, at one point I was a 4-1 underdog, and that was a striker versus striker kind of matchup. So I think they'll probably have the odds, which I love. I love that shit. I love people going against me and betting against me and thinking I'm gonna go out there and lose. I use that. I'm on my treadmill listening to it. I'll listen to it on repeat. So yeah, it doesn't bother me, but I am very curious. The closer the fight gets.
Yeah, me too. But did you get approached by the UFC because they're bringing Tough back? So you have Connor and Chandler. So they're trying to get big stars on there to get the views back on that show, to try to freaking revamp that thing, because it's been a complete nightmare. Did no calls for you and Aljo to do that, or especially you, I would assume?
No, I think I just saw. Didn't Dustin Poirier say they offered him like $80,000 for 6 weeks?
Yeah, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good."
Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, for me to leave for 6 weeks and do that, something I would want $1 million. I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but there's just if it's under that, there's no shot I'm doing that.
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound ridiculous. I also think too, I heard you mention on the Ariel show that you're not getting pay-per-view points for this fight. I mean, kind of makes sense. I mean, there's an argument where you're definitely, it's not even an argument, it's a clear debate that you're the main draw here and sell the most pay-per-views, but after this fight, you're going Sizzler, because it's gonna be, as soon as you get the title, then we're talking pay-per-view points, even though you just renegotiated your contract.
Yeah. And I talked to him about that. Like, I have a very, very good relationship with the UFC. I've had a lot of sit downs, face to faces with Hunter and Dana and Sean. I have a very good relationship with the UFC, and you pick your battles. I wasn't willing to die on that and say, you know what, I'm not fighting, or I don't want this, blah blah blah. I'm getting paid. I'm happy with what I'm being paid. Pay-per-view points, I did ask. That was negotiated, was talked about. But hey, I'm okay. I'm happy with where we're at, and I know I go out there and put Aljo's lights out, which I very, very well know I'm capable of doing. The next fight, pay-per-view points, will be absolutely massive, and it will all be worth it.
Agree, brother. And also, I'll get you out there soon. I know you got to get rolling, man. But also, when I hear you're one of the few guys, and I talk, you were out here. We talked before. I think maybe we text. You were going to negotiate your contract. You don't have, an agent. Do it. You do it yourself. And usually I'm like, oh, that's going to be a nightmare. Worked out for you. And then Francis Ngannou does the same thing. And like, yeah, but look, Suga got it done. I'm like, different. And obviously it didn't really work out in France's favor. I don't know exactly what went down in Dana's office, but it seems guys point to you and go, look, Suga doesn't have an agent. Like, it's just different. He has so much leverage with what he brings to the table, and these other guys don't.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, I'm a fighter. I want to fight. I mean, maybe Francis doesn't really, he's fought it. He's been the champ. He's done it. Maybe he doesn't want to fight that bad. Maybe, I want to fight. I want to fight. I remember, I'm sure like every fighter's fought for free. We've paid money just to be able to fight.
Facts.
And I still got that hunger. I still have that drive. I still want to fight. So I was going to come to an agreement regardless. But I will say I'm very happy with how the deal played out. And, you learn a lot sitting down there doing your own deals. And it's business, and there's skills and levels to business. And, I had fun doing it.
Good for you, brother. How do you? I heard you mention this too. That I think you said 4 to 5 years you'd be interested in a Tank Davis, a Gervonta Davis fight, or a Ryan Garcia fight. Did you watch the Gervonta and Ryan fight?
I did. Yeah. That I think and people hate on it, but people also hated on me saying I told people I was gonna be in the UFC when I was 18. They're like, what? Shut up! Like, that's not realistic. So that just feels like something like this where I say something like that and, get kind of shot down, but hey, watch it fucking happen.
Yeah, it'd be weird to shut that down because we've seen it. Like, there's a path to this. It's not, like when Conor in his heyday was like, I'm going to fight Floyd. Everyone's like, dude, what the? And he was the first. People are like, dude, get the hell out of here. Then you see that happen. You got Jake and Nate Diaz fighting. You got Logan Paul fighting Floyd Mayweather. So it's like, when I hear that, I go, well, that's never going to happen. It's like, yeah. No, that can happen. There's definitely ways to do this, Yeah,
Gervonta looked good too. I mean, the first round against Ryan, I was like, man, Ryan's kind of bullying him. He's bigger than him. And Gervonta made the adjustments as a professional he is, and very, very skilled. You can see he's dedicated his life to boxing and made the adjustments and, sat Ryan down, finished him with the body shot. It was a beautiful performance for Gervonta. I'm actually a fan. I do talk shit on him. I talk shit on a lot of people that are under 5'4", but that just is what it is. But he's super skilled.
Yes. Yeah, he's the face of boxing right now. Do you know Ryan at all? Do you and Ryan Garcia have a relationship? You guys would crush it together. Whatever content you create, training. See, he's such a good dude. He lives up here, man. Really good dude.
Yeah, I've messaged him, or we've messaged back and forth on Instagram a few times. We haven't really ever met or shot any content together. But yeah, that's another fight that could be up there eventually too. And like I said about that fight, like that fight only happens if I go out there. I have to at least be the bantamweight champ, potentially champ.
Correct.
And Gervonta has to go out there and keep doing his thing. So we both have to be major pay-per-view stars for the UFC to allow something like that to happen. They allowed that to happen because Conor was as big as he was. Floyd was as big as he was, and that just made sense. So if the UFC can make millions of dollars on it, they're all about it. The only way that's going to happen is if we're both massive pay-per-view stars. So the stars have to align. But yeah, that's something I would be interested in for sure.
No, I dig it, brother. Dream big. Are you excited about the Nate Diaz and Jake Paul fight? Did you see the presser?
Yeah, I did see the presser. I'm like, God damn, Nate Diaz looks like he's a philosopher sometimes. And sometimes I'm like, God damn, what the fuck did he just say? Did he just speak English? So he's like in between.
There's no in between. Yeah, it's either brilliant or just like, is that English? Like, there's no. Yeah. It might be the weed though. I'm like, maybe just too high. Maybe you got a good strain or some shit like that. Maybe it's just too high.
Yeah, it was interesting. I liked it. I think dude, I'll watch every Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and I'll watch every Nate Diaz fight. So the fact that Jake and Nate are fighting, I'm all about that shit. I watched the press conference. I would be there if I wasn't, having to fight Aljo getting to fight Aljo a couple of weeks later. So yeah, that's a fight I'm very interested in.
You have a pick on that fight? I know you're a Nate fan, you're a Jake fan. I hate picking too because Jake's my boy, but I'm UFC alumni, so I usually always ride with the UFC guys and with Nate. I'll say this: if Nate thinks that this is just like a YouTuber and he's going to walk through them and can barely train, it's going to be a tough night for him. If Nate comes in 100% and takes it serious, he has the capabilities to beat Jake. He definitely does. He's as tough as they come and he can box his ass off. This is all predicated on Nate taking it serious. That if people tell me he's training his ass off, I would probably, it'd be hard for me not to bet on Nate. I love Nate too. Jake's my guy, but Nate's a dog, but if he's not taking it serious, it's it's gonna be a tough night.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think the same. It depends on how serious Nate takes it. Regardless, though, Nate's never really been known for being hard to hit. He's never been known for like, damn, his head moving slick. He's always been known for like, holy shit, he can take a punch.
Correct.
Jake can deliver a punch, and with those boxing gloves, and you wrap your hand like a cast, you can get more power on those boxing gloves with the right hand than you can with the MMA gloves, I think. So,
Agreed.
you know, we'll see. We'll see if Nate can take that right hand. It's at 185. Nate's not a 185er. He's that heavy, but he doesn't mean he's, that's his.
That's not his fighting weight. No, not at all. Agree.
So that plays a role. Huge fan of both guys. I've always went for Jake in every fight, and it's like I'm not necessarily going for one or the other. Just a massive fan of what they're both doing, and very excited for it.
Agree. I'll get you out here on this, brother. So Snoop Dogg played a huge kind of role in your career. If you remember, he was commentating when you had that crazy knockout. I would like to see him back the way they brought the Rock in from Oswald or something for your title fight. Might as well. Snoop has never said no to a job. He loves, he's constantly working. I don't know why we don't get Snoop involved with this title fight in Boston, bro. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know every time Snoop's mentioned my name since then, it's always been Sugar Shane, so we'll have to work on that. But,
again, could be the weed, dude. Could be the weed.
Yeah. Sugar Shane, I get it. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm sure Snoop's all about that, so that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea at all. Last thing. With your GQ, the GQ top 10, you had the freaking J Balvin J's in there I gave you, dog.
Oh, yeah. Shout out, Brandon. Thank you, bro. That shit. Yo, J Balvin messaged me from that. Yeah, he's like, yo, appreciate you wearing those. That was cool. Yeah, those are still some of my favorite pair of shoes. I love those. So, yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
Dude, when you become multi-time champ, I wouldn't be surprised if you have a deal with Nike and you have a very similar shoe of your own. Just like that shoe was, I know J Balvin, whatever he did, had his influence on it. It's like when I saw those, I was like, dude, that's Sugar Sean's shoe, bro. Like you stole his vibe, dog. That's his shit.
Yeah, no, yeah. Every time I wear those, people fucking like, what the fuck? Those are so sweet. But yeah, those, let's manifest that. That shit would be so sweet.
That's happening, brother. I don't even have them. I can't find a 13. When I gave them to you, I'm like, oh, those are the dopest J's I've seen in a while. I have some dope ass, this new Spider-Verse is on. I would trade these in a heartbeat for your freaking J Balvins, though.
Yeah, those are clean, though. Those are clean. Yeah, the J Balvins, they're hard to beat. They really are. They kind of go with everything, too. Even though they're multicolored, they kind of just flow with everything.
Love it, brother. Well, man, continued success. Stay healthy this training camp. And you got about 15 weeks. But I'm just excited for you, man. You're a special dude. The UFC needs you. And you're doing the damn thing, brother. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate it. See you guys later. Have a good one.
All right, brother. Take it easy, brother.